Good morning, all. We're going to call this meeting for July 14th of the Board of Supervisors. The board just met in closed session. Item 1, direction was given to staff. And under item 2, the minutes were passed for June 23rd, 2026. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, right out of the gate, we're doing public matters not on the agenda. These are discussion items only. The board may address the board on any subject within its jurisdiction. However, any matter that requires action may be referred to staff for a report and recommendation for possible action at a subsequent board meeting. Please note there's a 3-minute limit per topic. We're kind of flexible on that, so sign your name and we'll tell you. Do we have any? Jim? Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Jim Dutra. It was brought to our attention by County Council that RVs are exempt from TOT tax. Did you guys know that? Or are you planning on changing that in the future? And is there any discussion about that? No? Okay. Well, the reason I was bringing it up is if you do, down the road, I'd like to propose a better option. Instead of the TOT tax being collected based on a nightly stay percentage, like for a lodging, I think it would be a good idea if you guys created a separate account, and that money was only to be used for roads. So the RVs would actually be paying into the road maintenance for which they use. So if you guys decide down the road to do that, I'd like to see you kind of entertain that option.
Okay.
And if you do, it'd be nice if you guys could set it up to where that account couldn't be robbed or anything else. I don't know if that's something that's even possible, but anyway, that's the only reason I'm here. I just thought if you guys are doing that, I'd like you to at least entertain that option.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Yes, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen and ladies. This is my first supervisor meeting, so if I'm out of order, let me know. But I saw on your agenda that you were going to talk about some of the code enforcing and things of that nature that don't have any teeth. Is that true? Is that on your agenda?
It's on the agenda.
So I wanted to comment on that. I don't know if this is the time to do that or not.
When we come to that.
It is an agenda item, so we better be commenting. We'll have a public comment period when it comes up on the...
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. I'll look for you.
I'll be right here.
Okay, good. Anyone else? Speaking of code enforcement.
Good morning. Code enforcement. I actually have an update on the last 2 green cleanup. So I just wanted to say that we were able to cover the overage for the March, so we will not be using any general fund for that cleanup. So there's that update for that. And then for Jeff Brown's supervisor cleanup, we ended up getting 681 vehicles. We had 37 dumpsters, and the tonnage was 177.69, which 3 of those were 20 cubic yard stumps with 19.34 tons, and then 34 were 40 cubic yard dumpsters with green waste totaling 158.35 tons. Thank you, and thank you for helping me out.
You're very welcome.
A question for you.
Oh, yes.
How much was the overage?
The overage was $7,016.61. So again, that was covered, so
How's that covered?
they were able to go back to the grant, which was CAL FIRE, and they said that we could cover it.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Anyone else? Any rumors?
No, not at this time.
Would there be any board members have announcements?
Yeah, I got a weird one. This is, I get stuff from the Air Force all the time, still, for some stupid reason. And California, in all its brilliance, has gotten rid of all the, what's it called? Incinerators, waste incinerators in California. There was 2 left, and so they used the C5 and had to take 500 tons of legal drugs to Ohio to be destroyed. And it was just crazy amount that something we can't handle in-state, we have to now truck it to another state to deal with. So, something weird, but thank you.
Our Air Force moment.
That's it.
I would expect nothing less from California.
All right. Seeing that, hearing more public comment, we'll move on to approval of today's agenda.
So moved.
Second?
All right, we had a motion by Supervisor Romero, a second by Supervisor Brown to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Approval of items on the consent. We need to pull any or...
Move to approve? Second.
All right, we had a motion by Supervisor Brown and a second by Supervisor Epperson to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 3, the Assessor's Office, update on current year assessments for county and residential housing growth. By the County Assessor, Jim Rooney.
Good morning, everybody. Jim Rooney, Amador County Assessor. I'm here with Jeff Himmelman, temporary Assistant Assessor. I'll be the assessor here next January. Anyway, we finished the roll turnover for all of Amador County just recently too, and these are pretty fresh numbers. And we have some information and numbers for you if you go to the next one. The information we're giving you today, these assessments that we just finished, they're going to be reflected in the coming tax bills this year, later this year, when they come out in probably September, and they're due in December and April. And so all this information will affect these tax bills. The annual property tax adjustment, the annual Prop 13 adjustment, can be a maximum of 2%. That's based on the California CPI. And inflation was well above 2%. So every assessment in the county that didn't have a change of ownership or new construction went up 2% this year. And if somebody did new construction on their property or they purchased the property, that assessment would be changed. Otherwise, there is no other changes. Can you go to the next slide? The increase this year is just about 3%, essentially 3%. And that's kind of an indication that everything went up 2% and there wasn't much else going on. That extra percent there's a little bit of new construction, not a lot. That 1% is basically somebody selling their home. They sold a home, for example, $500,000 and had a $200,000 assessment. Well, that assessment went up to $500,000. And essentially, things are relatively stable, level, you might say. And I do want to say that I was assessor back in 2004, 5, 6, 7, and things were going up 10 to 15% a year. And I remember the time thinking it was kind of getting out of hand. And then in 8, 9, 10, values dropped 40%. And dealing with the board, our CAO, and they were really hard times. And those excessive increases, they may feel good at the time, but that's an indication that things are going too fast. And fortunately, though, Prop 13, it stabilizes increases. It also stabilizes decreases. So it's never up too fast or down too fast. All right, the next, okay, there's a lot of information on this particular slide. I hope you have something, I hope you can see that. But I'm just going to go over the different areas. And I'm going to start with Jackson here. Jackson had less than a 2% increase last year. Sutter Creek was about 3.5. Amador City was less than 2 at 1.65. Plymouth was about 2.65%. Ione was a little above 4%. The largest part of the area, assessment-wise, is the unincorporated areas. It's about 68.5% of the county, whereas like even the largest area other than the unincorporated area is Ione, but it's only about 11, or at least less than, about 11% of the county. It's not very much. But anyway, the areas that, you know, they're all pretty even, not going too much. The assessment increases, there's nothing terribly exciting, but there is kind of something interesting going on. If we go to the next slide. That's the number of houses in each jurisdiction. And, you know, I'm going to go over this, I'll try to be brief with it. But in Plymouth last year, there were 4 new houses. In Jackson, we had 1 new house. In Jackson, there were 8 new houses. In Ione, 9 new houses. 5 in Sutter Creek area. And in the county as a whole, last year, 55 new homes. That's not much. There's not much going on. And I'm not saying that is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what's going on. Some people might perceive that as something they like. Some people might say, no, I don't care for that. But that's the reality of residences in the area.
A lot of that's due to the water situation. It's gone down to the county with the water that's.
Yeah, I think some of it is. We're in a leveling off period. Property values, Jeff has some good insight into this too. Property values, they're going down a little bit. I mean, I think they're pretty level, but we've noticed a bit of a decrease, and not very much. So, you know, there's always adjustment periods in the real estate market. I think this is a bit of an adjustment. You know, people are holding off a little bit. You know, what we've found is interest rates are a little bit on the high side. And if somebody has a 3% loan on their property, and they can buy a new home, but the loan's 6%, but they can hold off. In addition to a higher interest rate, we're probably going to have a higher assessment. Maybe we should stay. I mean, that's some of the thought processes that I think we encounter.
Do you lose any homes though?
No, the only way you really lose a home is if there's a calamity, a fire.
I just think of one.
Yeah, okay, we can come back to this, but can you go to the next slide? This is the thing that we found rather interesting. There's homes in the county, total homes, and there's primary homes. The primary homes are homes that people, that's their main house, that's where they live, that's where they're based out of. And for the last 4 years, primary homes in the county have been going down. And at a noticeable pace, too.
It's well less than 50% now of our homes are primary residences. Just do the math, I think it's 45% of our homes are primary residences.
Let's see, yeah. I should have to look at those numbers.
The last slide has a,
Yeah, well, no, we're showing it's a little bit more than half. I'm showing a little bit more than half myself.
oh, I didn't include the cities.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about the total count.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of that, not everybody, the way we estimate primary residences is if somebody has a homeowner's exemption, it gives them a $7,000 decrease on their tax bill, which isn't very much. It was $7,000 when the average price of a home was $35,000. It was 20% of your whole value. That's worth something. Now, $7,000 off a $600,000 home, really who cares that much? But it's important to have, because when you want to transfer that home to children, that triggers the ability to transfer your base year value. So it's an important thing to have, even with the low money. Some people possibly just decide not to get it. However, there is an indication that the number of primary residences is decreasing. And they have interest in it. We're going to talk to the school board. That's something that I would think they'd be very interested in.
Would you say some of that, Jim, is VRBOs, vacation rentals, but also I think actually there's probably a fair number of homes out there people either kind of, I don't know if I would say abandoned, but some, and some are just, they don't want to rent them, they don't want to do a VRBO, they're sitting vacant.
Well, I think there's a number of homes that they're either second homes or they're rentals. And if it's a rental, it's a residence, and it probably has a family in it, but it's not a primary residence. So these numbers, I think they're a good indication of the type of growth. However, they're not absolutely precise.
They could be used to make a point, though.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's statistics.
No, it's information, like I said to some of the cities, this is information we have, we're sharing. We're not saying it's good or bad, but it is, these are numbers, these are very specific. And they're not, the numbers aren't estimates, but they're not always terribly precise if somebody doesn't fill out the right form. So anyway, those are, another thing in the county is, well, the growth, there's not much building going on. And again, it's more of an observation than anything. I hear talk of 1,000 new homes here or 1,500 there. That means nothing without a timeline. Castle Oaks has about almost 1,000 homes in it. They're starting their last phase. There will be almost 1,000 homes in Castle Oaks. Castle Oaks started in 1992, 34 years ago. Someone said that there's going to be 1,000 new homes in an area. Doesn't mean anything, but they say, in the next 20 years. I said, okay. Thanks for defining the time frame. It matters. It matters a lot, too. So anyway, that's information we have. There were some questions that Chuck asked us to possibly address the Prop 19 stuff. And was there, by the way, are there any questions on the assessments, homes, values, anything?
Yeah, so the primary residences, those that are living in the homes they own, are they rentals or?
Primary residence, it needs to be your primary home. It's not a rental.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's it. So a lot of those other houses are either rentals, empty, or second homes, or vacation homes, or VRBOs, something like that.
Correct. And I don't really see too many that are just left empty.
You gotta go up to District 3.
Drive around.
Just empty, huh?
Like Sierra Pines, about half.
But are those,
Pines,
by empty,
25%.
by empty, you mean, it's their second home that they're not there?
Yeah, it's an inherited second home, and it's
Okay.
just a source of guilt because they don't make it to the cabin as much as they used to, and it's visited twice a year.
Yeah.
I have this home that's near me, and it's fantastic looking from the outside. I've never seen a person at the home.
Yeah.
Somebody takes care of it, they have a management person come out and take care of it, but I've never seen anybody live at the home or go in the garage or anything. But it's a wireless thing.
Yeah. Well, there are strange things in all neighborhoods. People can do with their property what they want.
You know?
I have one question in your expert opinion. Is this growth and the increase in percentage of revenue matching the increase in costs that we have as a county by any means, or is it even close?
I would,
Yeah. Well, Prop 13 almost bakes a shortcoming in because the 2%, it's either whatever's lower, 2% or the CPI. So if the CPI exceeds 2%, the inflation of the property tax roll is only going to be that amount. So in years when we have a 2% increase,
That means almost everything else is what more than that.
So if counties are struggling financially, it might possibly be Prop 13, not just a lack of generation of revenue in some other fashion. Or at least it's one of the explaining factors.
Well, yeah, and I'm careful not to look at it as an individual year. Over time, you'd be surprised the revenue Prop 13 really does bring in. And I have that information. Let me tell you something, and I brought that.
Kind of keeps it stable.
What's that?
It keeps it stable.
It really does, but let me tell you something about Prop 13, because, in any individual year, something that has always kind of bothered me about it, generally I like it, but what bothers me about it is increases are based on the inflation factor, California CPI. Home prices can be going up 15%. The inflation factor could be 1%, so they could only raise them 1%. And on the other side of that, inflation can be 15%. Home prices could be going down, and we're going to raise it 2%. It's a little bit of a flaw, but they got to figure it out somewhere. I'm going to tell you something about Prop 13. There's three important numbers here. Since 1980, right after Prop 13 went in, the population of the state of California, this is statewide, has gone up 65% since 1980. Inflation has gone up 335% since 1980. Revenues from property taxes have gone up over 1,200%. Revenues far outpace population and inflation. I think our state doesn't really have a revenue problem so much as possibly a spending issue. So, anyway, those are three very basic numbers I just wanted to share with you.
That's an elegant way to say that.
So now, Prop 13 this year went up in our county 3%. There have been years it's kind of 8 or 9%. I think 15%. That's when we start getting in trouble.
Curious question, Jim.
Yeah.
Like over the Plymouth RV park, a lot of people are staying there year-round now.
Yeah.
Is that considered primary residence, or
No.
how's that looked at?
Those are, yeah. The RV park is a fascinating assessment. Years ago, we had to reassess that whole park. It had about a $800,000 value on it from Prop 13. It transferred, there was no sales price, it transferred, we reassessed it at about $3 million. They were screaming bloody murder.
I remember.
You remember that? And about 2 years later, they sold it for about 4 times what we assessed it. And I thought, oh my gosh, that park is fascinating. That's a big deal. That's one of the biggest parks in the state. It's really something. And those little homes they have in there, little units, those are not assessable as per the RMT code. So, but they're being assessed and they pay a fair assessment. I don't mean to get it.
And that's an old park. I remember spending back there in 1974.
Yeah, it's really an interesting property. So anyway, the Prop 19, Jeff, was there something specific?
I just wanted to know how much you figured that we had lost to Prop 19. The Prop 19, this reminder, is the ability of someone who leaves one location in California can go to a new location in California and bring their assessed value with them. So if they had an assessed value in San Francisco of $200,000, sell for $1.5 million, they bring that $200,000 to Amador County, buy a $600,000 house, and we're out that $400,000. Whereas San Francisco then takes the difference between the $200,000 and the $1.5 million, and that's all to their benefit. So really, it's a big, it's a shift in wealth, but it's a boon to the urban areas.
The rich get richer.
And is it worse for us because we're sort of a retirement area where everybody's older, they've owned their house for a long time, and they all move here, and less are moving out of here?
Right, if you sell a house for $1.5 million there, come here and you buy it for 600, you still have $900,000 left to invest or live off of.
And a low tax bill.
And
Anyway, Jeff, in our office, Jeff is the Prop 19 expert, and he deals with it all the time.
And the other thing to consider though too is that Prop 19 also, in addition to those losses, there's also gains because those losses are offset by the parent-to-child exclusions that used to occur, don't occur anymore. So we are also increasing assessments on properties that went from parent to child that would have traditionally been excluded from reassessment. Under Prop 19, the only exclusions from parent to child is the principal place of residence, and the child has to move in within 1 year. Under the old law, anything you inherited from your parents was excluded. The principal place of residence, plus up to $1 million in assessed value. So the losses on the base year transfers do get tempered a bit by the increases from full reassessments.
And a lot of that's at the cost of the local who's here. They didn't have the ability to sell for $1.5 million and buy for a third of that. So it's on the backs kind of the locals. Well, somebody from outside the area, and I'd do it if I had the opportunity. But anyway.
How many of those houses do we have? I know we approve like 1 meeting or 2 meetings sometimes. You know, how many countywide do you have there?
Prop 19 base year value transfers, or
Yeah.
Prop 19 is where we raise the assessment, where a child, where it was reassessed.
The previous, either one, I guess, actually, both of them makes sense. I'm just,
I don't know off the top.
Okay, just.
It's been, the number correlates with the number of sales, since there's been fewer recent than there were from 21 to 24. The next reporting period is from 24 to 27, so that.
The administration of Prop 19 is a nightmare. Essentially, they're asking us, say, we want the numbers of things that didn't happen. Somebody didn't do a base year transfer. Well, how much did they not transfer?
And the loss, the shortcoming, if we should have enrolled 500,000 and we only enrolled 250, well, the first year, that's $2,500 in taxes that should have come in. Well, next year, it's the same amount plus 2%. It's that shortcoming exists technically as long as that person owns that home. So that's what makes the challenge.
This is fun.
Can I ask one last question? I'm just trying to sum it up. Sorry to ask it up. It sounds to me like you say local kids are going to pay more taxes because of Prop 19 and people who move here are going to pay less. Does that sum it up?
Well, I wouldn't.
Because there's not the transfer anymore.
That's not universal, but
It is.
that sort of thing does happen.
It exists in that.
We saw one. Somebody came in, they sold for like $1.2 million. They owned their home a long time in another county. $100,000 each. And they bought, remember that one? It was like $600,000, $700,000. Wow, that's not fair. But that's just the way it is. They voted in Prop 19 and it was, I'd like to say it was a mistake. But anyway, that's what we're dealing with. And anything else in particular? If you have questions later on, you can let me know. What I like to tell people is, if you have other questions or concerns, give me a call, come and see me. If you have any problems, ask for Jeff. So,
Have you appointed your Prop 19 successor?
I think I'm going to have to hang on for a while just because it's.
you're gonna see a few things from us. We have a little bit of reorganizing to do. So, not more, just a bit of a replacement. So anyway, well, thanks, and I've done this for 24 times in front of us. I'm not coming back next year to help you. I'll help Jeff out, but not to get this report. All right?
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks again. All right, bye.
Hold on just a second, was there any comment from the public, any questions? Not opened up yet.
Good morning, Jeannie Levine, District 5. Technically not a question, but a comment to just add to the record. There was recently a project in Plymouth that produced a negative debt, and in the negative debt, it referenced there was something, please don't quote this actual number, but it was like 30 vacant homes in Plymouth. And so they saw no reason that their project would have an impact on the needs for housing in Plymouth. And I was stunned by that number because there's clearly not 30 vacant homes in Plymouth. My kids could not find a home to buy in Plymouth. And so on my walks, I started counting the vacant homes and kind of registering if they were vacant because they were Airbnbs or what they might be vacant for. And to Logan's comment earlier, a majority of them are inheriting homes, and the people who have inherited them are leaving vacant. My family is among them. I have a cousin who inherited my uncle's home, and it just sits vacant. And it's only an observation, but I think that people inheriting homes and leaving them vacant is as much of an issue for our housing concerns in this county as the short-term rentals are. And I had random reasons to start counting them and noting it. So anyways, thank you.
Interesting. Thank you. Anyone else? Public? Any Zoomers?
None at this time.
All right.
All right,
Thank you, gentlemen.
talk to you a little later.
Presentation only on that one. Moving along to 3B is a proposal to close the Jackson Library August 10 through 14 for interior reorganization. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I am requesting approval to temporarily close the library, the Jackson Library, from August 10th to the 14th to complete several facility improvement projects. The library was recently awarded a grant to purchase new furniture, which is scheduled to be delivered at the beginning of August. And this furniture is part of a larger project to redesign the children's area, moving it from sort of that back corner of the library to a more prominent location at the front of the library, making it a little bit more welcoming, inviting, and accessible for families in the community. Closing for the week will allow staff to assemble the new furniture, relocate shelves, the collections, do all of that shifting and moving around, and essentially reorganize the children's area safely and efficiently. And also take the time to complete any other, random maintenance projects that are difficult to accomplish when we're open to the public. Obviously, attempting to do this work while the library is open, can create safety concerns for patrons and staff, disrupt library services, and extend the overall timeline of the project by several weeks. So we hope that concentrating the work into one planned closure, we can complete this efficiently and safely. Ultimately, the result will be a refreshed library with a more functional layout, and it improves children's area and ultimately a better experience for our patrons. So I just appreciate your consideration and respectfully request approval to close the library August 10th.
Question, is the IOM library back open then?
It is.
Okay, I just want to make sure there's a place to go.
Yes, the remaining branches will be open during that time.
I'm sure you've done the numbers, but higher traffic is during school, when school's in session, and lower traffic in summer, so summertime is actually a good time to do this?
Yes, we tried to plan this closure after summer reading, because we're seeing a really large involvement in our summer reading program, but before school starts, when we start seeing that after school traffic, timing that with the delivery of the furniture, the best we could do is the week school opens, so it's the least disruptive we can find.
I have a question for you. Do you have any shelving that's going to be surplus, like book shelving?
Maybe one or two. The large goal is actually to rearrange a few of them, to create a better flow of the collections. The new furniture we're getting are a few pieces to help create a barrier for the kids area, to kind of just help designate that space. So it's not like a like 6 new shelves or anything like that. It's just a few key
That's
pieces.
like your reorganization. I thought there's a little like a private library filled town. They're looking for some shelving.
If we have any extra shelving, I'll let you know.
Okay.
One last thing, I just got back from Washington DC, and have you been to the Library of Congress? I'm sure you have.
I have not. My dream.
So our foundations of our nation, they built the Capitol, and then they built the Library of Congress, and they rival one another in their prominence and beauty. So that was the thoughts of a nation as we built it, is educating people and retaining libraries, and that library is absolutely settled. So we should go visit. It's actually connected to the Capitol.
Okay.
Were all these messages, being taught by that? Anyway, there's just talk of less need of libraries these days, and I think we should all visit Washington DC for a moment.
Is that the building where they have this, the fresco or whatever that the eyes of the lady follow you?
I didn't notice that.
There's some building back there. It's kind of famous. It got like some.
You can still get a library card there. I stood in line for a while, but I didn't know if I'd ever be back to use my library card, but.
And I need to renew mine. I just found out it was expired.
All right, any public comment on this issue? Closing the library? Zoomers?
No, not at this time.
Bring it back to the board? Sounds like a pretty functional approach.
I'll make a motion that we approve the temporary closing of the Jackson Library Branch, August 10th to the 14th. Second?
Right, we had a motion by Supervisor Epperson and a second by Supervisor Brown to approve the closing of the Jackson Library, August 10th through 14th, for interior reorganization. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Good luck.
Are you going to put a sign on the door? Yes. Can you write temporary, like 10 times larger than?
Okay, no, we've got.
We're going to hear that we
got
just closed the libraries. That's what we're going to hear.
I know. We will put it on Facebook. We'll put it on the website. We'll put signs up. We've got little flyers to pass out, and you will still hear about it.
The big bold T, temporary.
Are you going to answer the phone?
If we can, but I'm sure we'll be busy moving things.
All right.
Yep.
Because with all that Facebook and now you're going to get 4,000 phone calls.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. We'll have all the messages.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
All right, well, good luck. All right, item 3C is a discussion and possible action relative to processes surrounding code enforcement.
I brought this one before the board. So as somebody has a problem with something through environmental, something through building via code enforcement, a constituent has to go to those different departments and file a complaint other than one, specific, the code enforcement, which is Michelle. And of course, since all those departments, that's not their primary job, it's kind of secondary. And so the people come back and get frustrated because, sometimes things are not happening. And then the other part of it is we have to wait to go through the full, complete code enforcement process to abate it, which then costs the county money. And part of my suggestion is to put fines in the front side, go through it the same way we do with noise abatement and, fine up front to try not to hurt the county in itself. Of course, these are all constituent complaints. It's not, we're not looking for it as the county. And then, just try to nip some of the stuff in the bud. I don't know why my district seems to be the problem magnet, but it is, I don't know if people are just looking to hide my section, but the problem is right now where most of my abatements are right there in the middle of everything, middle of a neighborhood, piling up trash beside their house, parking an RV, almost in the road, all these different things. I have another house that, has, 8 cars all around it, not working, so these are things that Michelle can hopefully work at, but we need to run the abatement process a little bit different and to make sure that, Michelle keeps track of everything. And so I'm asking the board to run this back through county council and code enforcement to put a little bit more teeth into our code enforcement and also have the pipeline run a little bit better than frustrating our constituents and through how things are running. That's what I'm looking for.
When you say a little more teeth, what are you talking?
Talking, like we do in a lot of items, is start with a small fine and work up, because right now, we put a letter out and for 30 days. They have 30 days to figure that out. After the end of that 30 days, we would then fine them. If they still continue to not do something, fine them again, but they still would have the chance to come to the board and, like we do anything else, is to why they shouldn't be fined. That would be still possible. But, most of these items, I hopefully would be fixed right off the bat. And there wouldn't be needing to do all the investigations and the continual investigations that we have to do. That's the goal of this.
What are you gonna do about the unpaid fines?
That's a county council suggestion.
So I think when this has come back before the board previously, the fines have been considered. There would have to be some kind of appeal process for the fines, similarly to how there's a method of appeal process to the abatement actions. So I think from what I remember, that might require working with some type of collections agency. And before we could even get to collections, we would have to secure a court judgment of the fines, similar to how we would also inevitably need to go to the court, or Michelle would need to go to get an abatement warrant. So that would just be the fines portion. Then if they were non-compliant with the fines, then we would have to follow through with the abatement hearing procedures in order to abate the property. So it adds a middle step with the hope, I think, that there would be initial compliance with the fine, if that answers your question. We would amend the Chapter 2 of the ordinance to expand what those hearing procedures and noticing would look like, and we could bring it back to the board, but essentially it would be extending that middle step between the initial notice and before following through with the abatement proceedings.
Michelle, would you come forward and tell me anything I missed?
Would it be easier if I say what the process is now and then what he's kind of proposing?
Sure.
So as of right now, any violation, depending on what the violation is, the complainant has to call that department to file the complaint. So we do usually get most complaints, there's more than one violation on it. So it does go out to several departments. Those departments have to go out and inspect, see if there's a violation. If there's a violation, then they send an NOV, notice of violation. It's usually anywhere between 10 to 30 days that they grant them. They send it first class and certified mail. If the deadline, they don't comply, then they refer it to code enforcement, and then I'm required to give them a 30-day notice, sending it first class and posting it on the property. If they don't comply by that date, then it takes somewhere between 2 to a month to get a hearing board together, depending on if we have to keep rescheduling or not. And then from there, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get it to the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors then usually grant more extension time, so an order goes out. And then we go, if they don't comply then usually come back, have to get a warrant, get bids, come back to the board, get approval, get another warrant, go back out and do the abatement, or get a court order to, if it's a different type of violation. What we're proposing now is that I get the calls, it's one letter, it's one inspection, it's one cost of mailing to get it out. There'll be one deadline to have it done, so that would be still a notice of violation, anywhere from 10 to 30 days based on what the violation is. If it's something that's a health and safety issue, that's usually a 10-day notice, like trash. Then from there, they would get an administrative warning letting them know again, anywhere from 10 to 30 days, allowing them to comply. And then from there, that notice also would let them know that the next time out, and this is your guys' decision, like the noise ordinance is, first citation would be 100, then you could do 250, 500, 750 to 1,000. You guys can cut off at any time when you want to stop the citations. You don't want to fine someone $1 million and stop it. It's you usually can pick a time frame of after this, then we move on to the abatement process. Every time a notice is sent out for that, there is time granted, and if they, if there's time granted, and if they don't, then obviously it keeps at any time they do appeal, at every single letter they can appeal to come before the board if that's what the process is, to fight the administrative citation.
Do you envision this applying to like unpermitted structures or structures that are not built to code?
Yes, you would do the same thing for every code, for every code violation.
Do you have the background to be able to make that findings that if something is not built to code?
Yes, usually the stuff that is, that's complaint upon, and you work with the department anyway, so I would have a building inspector come out with me if necessary, if it has to do with something. You can tell, code officers, you could tell if a house is dilapidated structure, but I would always go to every department anyways with those findings to concur with them, and that's how we proceed.
Almost like we do now.
Yes, correct, yeah.
Would it be a one-stop shop instead of you having to go to the building department or you have to go to the environmental? Michelle would be the controlling person instead of those different.
She has no background on building codes. So
No, but she would take an expert
anyway.
with her.
Yeah, that's, code enforcement always works with the other departments. That's why you go out and you take the stuff. If it's something that's absolute necessary that I need to have a building inspector for, then I would go and concur with them. But you can tell when the house is dilapidating, if it's falling apart and stuff, that's pretty easy to say that that violates the health and safety code.
We have no fines in place now,
No.
just abatement.
Correct. The process I explained is exactly what the process we have now. I have nothing in the middle to get people to comply.
The due process for fines, would that be the same as the due process for, because they get to appeal to a board, so the board we just had last week, is that where they would appeal their fines?
Yeah, so as a part of the timing of the process, either the board would have to decide that we,
Can barely hear you.
that we either impanel the hearing board for those fines if someone wants to contest them, or we would have to pay for hearing officers, which would kind of offset the collection of those fines if people were able to pay them to begin with. So that would be something that would need to be adopted in the expanded code provisions, would be what our hearing process would be.
I guess my question would be, so in your experience, what do you find to be the most effective way to get people to move besides just paying for it ourselves and having somebody else do it? And that's what it seems like it happens a lot of the time. I mean, is there something that really seems to get people moving? I mean, I know the one situation we're working with, it's like, it's like literally like pulling teeth, but I've been personally involved and had other people personally involved saying, hey, you got to move. And I felt like I was moving heaven and earth just to get, and I sympathize with you because of that. And, I understand you're dealing with personalities and attitudes as well, too. So what do you think, what's most effective? I don't envy your spot one bit, believe me.
Yeah, no. So I've been a code officer for 18 years. I've worked at other jurisdictions. Like I've said before, I always go to a KCO conference working with others. This is the only place that I know of that doesn't do administrative penalties. Everybody else does. From my experience, I've only issued 7 to 8 administrative penalties in my entire thousands of cases that I've done. And it's always usually ends right at the $100 mark. So, the best example is a speeding ticket. Nobody wants to get a speeding ticket. This is exactly how this is. I know when city people move here, they're the first ones to call me when they get a notice of violation. And every single conversation's always, please don't fine me. Because it's an effective tool. You're always going to have a small portion that are not going to comply. And that's why you have this tool for. But As an officer, we have the discretion to also work, and I work really hard with everybody that I go out with. So, I try to give them resources, and like I said, I'm not out to fine. I just want the tool because it works without us having to spend this exorbitant amount of time and money to get all the way to the end where you guys have to spend money to do something. And so I would just like to have this tool. And like I said, every time I've gone out for that third inspection, which is usually, I'm always very accommodating and saying, hey, if you can get this done in a week, I will not give you the citation. Like I said, there usually was an inspection fee. I'm not going to give you that. We're done and the case is closed. And that always usually happens. Like I said, it's only been 7 to 8 times that I've actually had to issue a citation for someone. Yeah.
I don't think, based on Jim Rooney's numbers, that we can afford these abatements. Do you think that this would help us avoid getting to that phase more commonly?
Yes, I'm just trying to tell you from experience and from obviously the gentleman that I brought back, I think it was in 2018. It's working. That's why other jurisdictions do it. So, and when you do collect administrative fees, those do go back into code enforcement for abatements and stuff, so you would have funding if necessary. So you're not pulling it from the general fund to do so. Because at this point, we go to abatement, you're waiting to get paid back whenever it gets sold or collected through taxes, where this is a deterrent in the middle that works, that will get people to comply now without having to get to that point.
This has been a huge problem, especially, part of the thing is that people get frustrated because of the different departments. And this is what I really want Michelle to be the focal point, the one number to call to handle some of these, because I've talked to some surely people that just want to flat out move away from their neighborhood that they dearly love because of this problem home right next door to them. And this has just been a huge frustrating thing, and they can get lost into our governmental system that, we haven't been running. It's been hard. And hopefully this will be one step that we can do to try to nip some of this in the bud.
I've got kind of a different question. On the first page of code enforcement under definitions, it talks about a violation, and it says a violation shall be deemed a separate offense for each day the violation is committed, continued, or permitted. Any such violation is hereby declared to be a public nuisance. And I guess I'm going with that. That's a misdemeanor can be a violation or is a violation, correct?
Correct.
And and they're talking about convictions, so first conviction's $100 fine, second, $200. Third is, in the C, it says upon a third or subsequent conviction of violating the same chapter of this code within a 12-month period, a fine of $500. Couldn't you hypothetically have somebody have something out there and in 3 days they have 3 violations from the same unpermitted activity? And then you'd have a $500 fine for one item?
So you're still issuing the misdemeanor for it, and that's kind of something where there's a difference between the misdemeanor and administrative citation. So you're taking them to court and putting a misdemeanor on their record instead of giving them an administrative citation.
I understand that, but...
And then it would be per violation that those administration would be. So if you have trash, occupied trailer, that would be 100, that would be 100. When you're doing the administrative citations, it's not all one, by the way, when you do that. Because if they were to go and clear the occupied trailer and still have the trash, you still have to have that separate.
I'm just thinking we may have a problem in our code, possibly because it still says a violation shall be deemed a separate offense for each day the violation is committed. So if I set this up here and it stays there for 3 days, technically that's 3 violations. Is that correct?
No, it's still one violation.
It's just saying that when you can do administrative citations, or you could do that every day. You can cite them every day.
Then I have a
Basically
question.
saying it's a violation every day as it's existing.
I have a question for
Except-
county council then. This is what it says. If you look at the first page, this is chapter 2.06 code enforcement. Under violation, towards the bottom, a violation shall be deemed a separate offense for each day the violation is committed, continued, or permitted. That would be if I left this water bottle up here for 3 days, wouldn't that be 3 separate violations, the way violation is defined?
This hasn't come up as an issue in the past, that the language is unclear. We can review it, and we can always amend the definition if it's causing confusion with the people who are being cited.
Yeah, but reading what it says, technically, if I left this water bottle up here for 3 days, that'd be 3 separate violations.
It's kind of to echo what Michelle was saying, the way our county code is written where it overlaps between administrative actions and then misdemeanor offenses. I think offense, it might be an unclear term in this context of how it's going to get, if it were to be prosecuted or put on someone's criminal history.
I just think the way it's written, there's a problem there. Or could be a problem, not that we're not doing that, but it should be clear.
We can revisit the language.
You know, the elemental question, though, Rachel, and I know you get frustrated with this, and Supervisor Brown, I applaud you for bringing that to us, but these are all our friends and neighbors, and we live in a very small county. And we've had some pretty egregious cases come up. The sawmill guy and the guy at Martin Lane, and we find a way to let them off the hook. Give them another year. We kind of kick the can down the road and hope they'll come to their senses. And it's proven that hasn't happened in those cases that I'm talking about. But the board would just have to, our heart is not in code enforcement as a group. I've been doing this 10 years, and we just keep looking, Supervisor Netos questioning maybe we can give this guy a break because it says it's every day, and we're always looking for a way to get out of it. So we need to either really commit and streamline, or you're just adding another cumbersome layer, looks like to me.
No.
Okay.
It works. I said right now it's cumbersome because it's being drawn out, and you're, like I said, you're left with
You
your
can send me
option
a
of a
check
court
for
order and
the first fine
abatement.
you get.
So,
I'd like to have a picture of the first guy who pays his fine.
Now, I hear what Pat's saying, and I can agree with it because I'm thinking of one particular case, not to mention names, or places where a person had a pretty big, treasure collection, I guess. And we kind of asked, hey, can you please give you some time, clean it up? And he said he would, and I think he just piled on more, which I'm not real happy about, quite honestly.
The problem that I have is that, again, some of these treasure troves are in the middle of some of the residential areas, and that's the problem. If you've got 40 acres and you can hide it somewhere on that 40 acres, that treasure trove, that's your business. But when you're sitting in the middle of a developed neighborhood and you're just thumbing your noses at the neighbors, there's a little bit of a difference there, and that's what I have a serious problem with. We've got people that are that they can't enjoy their own property because the smell and everything else off the neighbor's property is just offensive. And so that's we're not looking to fine people. We're looking to only the people that the neighbors are complaining about. And when we get more than one neighbor complaining about it, part of this audience right now is off of one house on a street that I have. So that's.
I'm not saying I disagree with maybe possibly going where Michelle wants to or you want to, but I think we are looking to find people.
We are.
Right.
But it's also, we did an abatement last year, and I drove by the home as I was campaigning, and I can't tell the difference. And it's like, really? you know, that, you know, the county spent, what was it, 6,000?
Around 6,500 on that one, yeah.
You know, and I looked at the house and I'm like, deja vu.
Did we not take enough, or they just move it back in?
Then they moved it back in, they got more back there, yeah.
So, you know, if we can do something to help fight part of this, and it's just a few people. And I made a statement, you know, online that I said, it's just a few people that are making the rest of us a problem. You know, this is a small, you know, I sit there at my own house and I've got an engine block sitting in front of my shop and I'm like, is Michelle going to be upset about this? You know, it's just a funny thing for me. To me, it's just one of those things that I'm like, I want to make sure that I'm doing good by my own neighbors. But these people are not. They don't care about their neighbors. They flat out do not care about their neighbors. And it's unfortunate.
And to be clear, I wasn't saying that the board being soft on code enforcement was a good thing. It's just a fact.
At our hearing board last week, I've always been concerned about this because there's this statue on top of the Capitol called Freedom, and I've just been nervous, but Michelle demonstrated a lot of grace in actually presenting evidence that somebody had made their best efforts to comply, and I just think as long as we show mercy and grace, you're right. I have a neighbor that we all have rats eating our wiring in our vehicle because they've been piling garbage for 15 years or so. And it's led to other problems. So I think they got a lot of letters, and that's part of the garbage that's floating over into all the neighbors' property. That's what they did with the letters.
Problem.
Yeah, stop sending so many letters because they're floating over into my yard.
I mean, do you know what the root cause is? I mean, is it just like hoarding, or I know like once in a while you get people that they can't afford trash service and they'll just kind of fill the truck up until it's full, and then you just kind of keep filling it up and it kind of spills over, and then the next thing goes around the side of the yard and the backyard. I mean, is that kind of what we're dealing with, you know? I mean, that's a pretty psychological problem or question to ask probably, but I mean.
It's both of what you're saying. Hoarding and if it's a financial issue, but again, that's why I try to use resources by using cleanups or stuff like that would help out, because those things do make a big difference by doing cleanups. Or any resource I can find, I like to. I really do, I'm trying to work with them. I really just want this as a tool because I know it works. And, you know, I'm gonna work with them, and if it gets to that point, like I said, I do everything I can. I don't want to I don't want to go through the whole process of it. It's time consuming. I want to work as best as I can with the owner, but at some point, if they're just not complying, it'd be nice to have that. So.
I guess, just to reiterate, so if there would be an opportunity for like an appeal or something, if there's a fine?
Yes, so like I said, every notice that gets sent out, if you guys decide you want to do the process with the 1, 2, that stuff, every notice will have that language in it that they have the right to appeal within the 15 days of that citation. And then once they do that, yes, and come before the board, prove that they don't have a violation, or you guys say you do have a violation, you need to clean this up. The other step too is in getting that's what I talked about, like a compliance agreement, getting the owners to do that so it's more solid, and making sure that they do comply by a certain date, and then say if you don't by this date, then the administrative penalties would be in effect. There's a lot of things, but this is the first step to getting them in here if they want to appeal it.
Or what are the questions you ask? I mean, I deal with people all the time in my other line of work, but it's like, I mean, you ever ask them, say, hey, do you need help? Because sometimes people just need help, and they just get overwhelmed, and a lot of times it's grief. There's a lot of things that relates to it. I mean,
Yeah, I'm always asking backstories. I want to know because that helps me help them in determining a time frame.
I think that's the big thing. I mean, the one situation I got involved in was because I know the family personally. I know what's going on, and it's just to took a lot of other, working around the backside trying to get them to move a little bit. And we made some progress. I mean, I'm not 100% happy with it, but we definitely got the larger issues taken care of. But I also kind of know some of the backdrop there too, I guess, so.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, because I mean, that's a lot of times people are just overwhelmed, they're grieving or what they're going through, they're just trying to, they just need some help. Sometimes they just need to be straightened out, but I get that.
Right. That's why I'm always looking, if you guys ever come across resources, I want to know, because I want to be able to have that, to be able to, share that with somebody based off of talking with them, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ready to open this up for public comment?
Please.
All right. You're up.
Hello, gentlemen, again. Tim Rickford. I'm a
Yeah.
resident of Upcountry, specifically Amador Pines, and the timing on this is impeccable because what they're presenting has just recently affected me in the last couple of weeks with a close-by resident that has blatantly violated not only the trash concept, fire danger, which I know is not you guys. That's a separate road I'm traveling, which is pushback on that one also. And also animal control, which is another entity. But this person that lives next to me has 13 dogs. And the code for dogs is 4. And animal control will basically say some of the things Michelle said is their hands are tied. They can go out there, they can do an inspection, they can talk to the guy, they can give him a warning, but they have no teeth to do after that. And I think people know this, that violate these certain things with the trash and the code enforcement and stuff, and they get those things in the mail and they can't do nothing. I think people know that. And I'm talking about people that are fully capable of taking care of their properties and their animals. And so, like I said, personally right now, I am trying to navigate through these things to address some of these issues, which brings down property values. So my certain issue has escalated to the fact that I had to file a restraining order because a gentleman was upset thinking that I was the one that called animal control, which I was not. But that's what he thinks. And so we had a situation in my house where we had to call sheriffs, we had to file restraining orders, we were granted them. He's been arrested twice on that restraining order. But now my property value has gone down. If I go to sell my house, I have to disclose that. No one's gonna wanna buy a house from someone that has an active restraining order against the neighbor. So there's a lot of things that play into this, and I'm here personally, and like I said, the timing couldn't be better. I had no idea that Mr. Brown and Michelle had this on their agenda. I just happened to see it, and I'm personally going through it right now. It's very frustrating. The thought of moving is in my mind and taking the hit that I take. I moved up here 6 years ago. I'm retired. I come from a law enforcement background. My father was in law enforcement. I do everything like I'm supposed to do it. I give back to this community in multiple ways: hospice, senior center, Wood Angels, my homeowners association. This kind of stuff right here is not what I came up here for. I love this county. I love giving back to this county, but these people know that there's nothing you can do. And I've had this gentleman blatantly disregard the Amador County Sheriff, and I'm going through a process at a lot of different levels with this person, but I see it at other places in Amador Pines. And it's not all over the place, but there are those few people, and what you said is true. Some of those people actually might need help cleaning up their yards. There might be, hey, what can we do to help you? I don't think the county should have to foot the bill for someone else's lack of cleanup, and you can pretty much see who does it blatantly and who may have an issue. There's people out there that are hoarders, but they're bringing down the property value of my whole Amador Pines by doing these things. A handful of houses, 5 or 6 maybe, so whatever Michelle presents to you, or if one of you have your own ideas, would help with this process. I thank you very much for listening to me.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Probably went over my 3 minutes, but I appreciate it very much.
It's a pretty flexible 3 minutes. Anyone else? Oh, here we go. Good morning.
My name's Peggy Hall. I live in Pioneer. Jeff did a great job in representing our situation that we're encountering right now. We do have a house down the street that is piled to garbage. Kids living in the house. They've I feel like they've broken like every possible code there could be by taking up occupancy in a trailer in the driveway, having 7 to 8 abandoned vehicles on the property, the oil drums, the antifreeze in the soil. We have a problem with rats, not only on that land, but now it's encroaching the neighbors where the rats are eating the rubber gaskets on the long side of the garage door. Another neighbor saw the rats eating their plants, so they have to set traps. So now we're all having to take extra measures to make sure this problem doesn't encroach into our yards. I'm really sensitive about this because there are kids. We've called Child Protective Services because we need to know that the kids are being properly cared for. I'm not looking to get this family evicted. We just want them cleaning up their act. They've had offers of help. Child Protective Services did just pay a visit several days ago, gave them some kind of a contract document to sign saying this would give us the right to access the children's medical records, and we could possibly, when you sign this, we can get you some help getting the garbage off the property, and they refused to sign, so they're not even accepting help. We're a very close community where we would go over and offer to help, but now because of the rats, we don't feel like that's a safe situation for us. I really appreciate Michelle, and I'm sorry about all the calls we're giving you. I like your plan, or your suggested plan going forward, because we are frustrated about the departments. Someone had said there was only one call reported, when I know that I've called over the last 8 months over the vehicles, the unsafe soil, the children. I know these are all different departments and not everything falls under the county. It's gotten to the point where the 10-year-old was given a pellet gun for his birthday and told to go out and start shooting the rats. We have drug trafficking at night. They shot their own dog in the front yard with their kids present. Because, and again, this is an animal control situation. So it's not only do we have animal control to deal with and outside other sources, but when the county, when you have several departments you have to call also, it's just hard to find where are we with this. And not everything I feel is getting channeled to Michelle, because I don't even think she's aware of all the calls that's been made. I am concerned when you talk about finding them, because I personally feel like if some of them had the money to do it, they probably would have taken care of it, and that's probably hopeful thinking. But I also had a situation behind me that I was constantly on the county with, and I'll be honest, they were on this individual, and they took care of every time I called, I saw their presence and what they were doing. But he would also have a makeshift trailer, so that garbage disappeared. You know, he would load the trailer, and sometime during the night, that trailer got emptied. So if you find them and you're not a solution to going and getting that garbage off the lot, they may take measures and roadside dump it. I mean, and that's going to be another expense to the county. So I'm just sharing that. You guys have to make your own. I tried to make.
You're doing great.
I know, I'm very nervous.
Don't be nervous.
You know, again, I love Pioneer, and I retired there. I got my house 12 years ago. We have a very close-knit community. We will split wood for everybody. We'll make sure everybody's got firewood. Everyone's taken care of when the snow gets high and they can't get out. But there's nothing we can do. There's nothing more that we feel we can do. And I don't know that we're taking the proper channels, who we're supposed to call. So I really like Michelle. I mean, not to put this all on one individual. I mean, she's been there 18 years. I am concerned that if she left, she's going to be big shoes to fill. It's going to be hard to replace her with all her knowledge. But it would be nice to have that one central contact so we feel like everything is getting targeted. I think I covered everything, and I want to thank you for your time, really.
All right.
Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for your time, and thank you, Jeff, for bringing this up. Talked to him quite a few times, code enforcement, environmental health, child protective services, animal control, about this one house. Our neighborhood is, as Peggy said, and I won't repeat all the problems, she covered it all. But I strongly encourage you to consider Michelle's plan, because being soft on code enforcement is just not okay. It's not okay for the residents. And I understand the compassion that you have for people, and we all have it. These people have been offered help, and others, you all seem to have a similar situation in your neighborhoods. But our neighborhood's half-acre lots, so we're right next to each other. It's not okay for these people to have just carte blanche, to have rats running everywhere and eating your wiring on your cars. I mean, it's happening. We want to keep Amador County a nice place to live. And there are resources available, a lot of resources here, I believe, for our county. And please consider her plan, because being told, well, there's no teeth in the ordinance. We want to help you, but there's nothing we can do. It's just not a way to run a county. It's not. So I urge you to consider her plan. I think it sounds like a good one, and I appreciate your support and your time.
You state your name for the record.
Becky Jerigi.
Okay.
And you won't be able to spell it.
I bet I could.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I might be getting out over my skis thinking I can spell that. J.
Well, I'm Brian Coyne. You talk about having compassion for the people that are doing the violations. What about the neighbors? How about compassion for some of the neighbors? Because I don't like the rats coming over to my property. I've got stuff getting eaten by the rats. I don't want to have to deal with the rats. The oil leaching into the ground. I don't want to have to deal with, my plants getting messed up because of the oil leaching into the ground. The guy brings in oil. The guy has abandoned vehicles. He parks parts them out a little bit. He sells a couple parts off and leaves the rusting hull right there to stay for years and years. He's got one that hasn't moved in over 5 years, another one that hasn't moved over 3 years. He's piling up other ones. Now, you say, Michelle has no teeth. You got to give her not only teeth, but fangs. She has to be able to enforce this stuff, and she has to be able to enforce it by better than just a $100 fine. She has to hold the people liable to get them to clean it up. If they're just going to sit there and say, well, here's your $100 fine, I'll just toss it with the rest of the trash and let it blow over to my neighbor's yard. So, and these people have trash that some critters drag all over the place. And he just replaces it with more trash, and now we got trash in my yard, trash in their yard that I have to clean up. You got to have compassion for the other person, not for the person who's committing the violation. I mean, I can understand some compassion for the violator, but if they're not willing to help, why not have compassion for the people that, live by them? It's time to really buckle down and start enforcing codes. I mean, you can come check my property anytime you want. I'll fit every code. Anyway, thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else? We got a Zoomer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a comment via Zoom. Miss York, please go ahead when ready.
Hello, my name is Ann York. I live in Mace Meadows. So, from what I'm hearing, I agree with the last commenter that your compassion is misplaced. It needs to be with the rule followers. You are elected to represent the majority, not cater to the few that are violating simply because they're your neighbors. It sounds like the problem is that the problem is not being dealt with in an effective manner. Being soft on code enforcement is a choice that you are making, and it is a wrong one. One of you mentioned trash service. The trash service is extremely unaffordable, which is also something that you need to look into, and that needs to be addressed. But ultimately, fees are necessary to get these people's attention. If you want somebody to change, you have to hit them where it hurts. You want a speeder to stop speeding, what do? You pull them over, you give them a ticket. We have rules for a reason, and the majority of us are following them. these people's right to freedom to hoard or collect or be a nuisance cannot encroach on another's right to freedom. So all of these people who have stood up and told you that these rats are destroying their lives, what about their freedom? What about their liberty? Where's the compassion for them? Ultimately, you need to give her more than just fees. And we need to stop messing around. We have laws for a reason. Everybody has to adhere to them. If you can't do that, then there needs to be consequences for your behavior, period. Thank you.
No other Zoomers?
No, not at this time.
Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, hearing none, we'll bring it back to the board.
I wanted to address one thing. My motive isn't compassion, because I agree with all of you. Compassion should go both ways, and I think we sometimes have too much compassion for the perpetrators of crime than we do for the victims. I just think granting fangs to our government should be undertaken with great caution, because once our government has fangs, it has fangs, and those can be pointed at anyone. So I don't think our motive has been compassion. Our motive has just been, at least for me personally, just trying to, just being very cautious about allowing the government to cross our sacred property lines and fine us. So perhaps we've reached a point where we have to grant some teeth, but it's just it's a scary moment.
No, I think what you said really, yeah. When the gentleman said fangs, that was a very wrong term to use. Teeth, maybe? Yeah. Fangs, no. So, yeah, I can understand maybe some teeth. Gets out of hand. Probably the board could probably rein it back in. But yeah, I don't see fangs. That's just bad connotation.
Yeah, but the only thing is we need to do something, because what we're doing right now is not working. This is something that is affecting, multiple neighbors. The other thing that's kind of weird, and I got to go sideways on this, is the rat issue. I've been up there for 21 years and I've never seen a rat. I've had plenty of mice in my area, but I've never seen a rat in my area. And I had a call from a constituent, and she called me up and talking about a home next door, and she's being infiltrated via rats. And so to me, it's kind of the interesting aspect is that where are these rats, not even dealing with the code enforcement, but where are these rats really coming from? How are they, how are they getting up there? Because I've dealt with squirrels. Squirrels have also been a wiring eating son of a gun, and they love their hiding their nuts, and if you leave a car not sitting somewhere for a while, you'll have a whole bunch of stuff sitting there. But so everywhere from Volcano up to Amador Pines is starting to get a rat infestation. So it's kind of a sideways conversation, but it's kind of like, wow, where is this? Why is this happening?
I've got no neighbors. Nothing's really changed much in my house, and I've got a lot more, I don't know if I'd say rats, but a lot more mice this year. They're everywhere. I think it's nature. Yeah, can garbage and debris add to the mouse rat population? Oh, yeah.
It's just kind of interesting. I mean, mice have always been, upcountry. That's just what they do. But, one of the neighbors had a picture of the rat that they pulled out of a professional trap. I'm like, what are we becoming, New York?
Well, they've always had rats up country. You got pack rats. There's other types of rats.
Yeah.
They're around. Just
people have a lot more livestock in their houses too, chickens and rabbits and whatnot, and they attract them. You got bird feeders, you're going to have rats at some point. Yeah, that's a thing.
Rats will be here when humanity's gone.
Yeah, really. So I'm looking for, teeth to be put into code enforcement, asking the staff to bring something back to us to evaluate.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I definitely sympathize. I mean, it's not trying to misplace compassion, just trying to get people motivated. And I think that we need to do something to get that a little more expedited because it's taken too long. I mean, I'm dealing with a dog issue. It's been dragging on for a year and a half, and we're just now starting to get some results, and it's taken all of that time and resource to get there, and I sympathize with you.
So do we add animal control into this too?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I mean, I don't know how often it is, but I know I can tell you what I see is that there's just people they collect dogs like they collect everything else.
And then the other thing I did kind of want to ask, which wasn't really part of my original thing, is that after we do an abatement, that the case is held open for a period of time, that they don't go back to their old ways, and Michelle has to start from step one.
Yeah, I would say that's fair, because I mean, you'll see it where they'll get caught up, and then it just kind of slowly drifts right back into the same cycle. I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, I think about it, probably some teeth would be okay, but no fangs.
Mm-hmm.
Understand. I mean, we need to make sure that we're looking at both sides of the coin.
Yeah, for sure.
So if I hear you right, this will be direction to staff to come back with a detailed plan?
Yes.
That'd be right, Chuck?
Yeah, we'll bring a draft ordinance back, hopefully in 2 weeks.
I just want to make sure I'm tracking all the right sections that you guys might want proposed amendments to.
Can't follow us?
Under the definitions, revisit violation to make sure that that's clear based on the number of offenses per days. Where the public is directed to submit their complaint to, as opposed to the affected department, that going straight to Michelle. Is that correct, that you want that as a part of this? And then the fines provisions being added to the chapter.
And the fines, I'm not sure how that would function exactly. I mean, just kind of thinking this through. I mean, I know that when we get to the very end of it, there's an amount of money that we have to spend to abate. And this, as long as those fines would be, not super exceed that. Like, let's say it costs $5,000 to thoroughly abate the property. The fines reach $5,000, and then that goes into that amount, and maybe plus 20 or 10%, whatever it is, for managing it, because it's a lot of time and effort to get there. I don't want to just simply pay for it and then we pay for everything else, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to what I'm saying?
No, we can always put a lien on for any excess costs.
Okay.
And you could always reduce the fines.
Because I think part of it is, I mean, if they get on the stick and get things figured out, then we can back off on the fines. But if they're not going to do anything, then that they stand. I think that's just fair. I think it's fair for both parties, for the neighbors and for the people that are violating.
At least to get something moving, because that's one thing that's not happening right now is,
right.
Things are just sitting there.
No, I mean, tracking the one issue with the dogs, I mean, it's mind-numbing, but it's like, I mean, people have rights, and I'm happy for that. But at the same time, it's like the other person's rights have been violated for however long this has been going on.
I think with the animal control issue, we need to change the code.
Yeah, I think you're right there too.
But that would be not with code enforcement, that would be something specific under animal control.
Correct.
So is that also direction to staff?
Yeah.
We'll bring those. We've had conversations with the board before about number of animals, different types of animals, numbers of horses per acres, things like that, and the board's declined to change. So we can that might be a separate item. I can bring it back for next board meeting, and we can bring animal control in.
Yeah, my suggestion was a max on number and weight of animals. That was kind of my thought, because that ends up being the issue. You can have,
weight's not something, numbers is what we can deal with. Yeah.
You got 5 dogs versus 5 chihuahuas, you got problems there, so.
I'm all for that. Could you tell my wife that I'm not allowed to have this many baby kittens being fostered? Like 6 or 7's too many, violating the code, babe.
That's plenty.
So Supervisor Brown, did we get it moving in the direction you wanted?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. So that was direction to staff. And it's 10:30. Let's take our 10:30 break. We'll be back at 22. Meeting is adjourned for seated, we'll get back going. Yep. All right, we'll put this meeting back in session, back to the regular agenda. The next item is item 3D, the admin agency, the abandoned vehicle abatement fee. Chuck, are you leading this one?
No, that wasn't me. I didn't put this on.
I think it's Michelle and the,
Oh, maybe she. Okay, here she comes. I know that was near and dear to your heart, Chuck, so I figured.
Hello, I'm Michelle with Code Enforcement. I'm here on behalf of the 5 cities, as well as Amador, Jackson, Plymouth, Saddle Creek, Ione, and Amador City, in regards to the placing the AVA fee back on the November ballot. Just a little background on it. In Prop 26, the renewal of the AVA fee was placed on the November 2012 ballot and was approved by over 2/3 of county votes. 10 years later, the renewal of the AV fee was again presented to voters in November of 2022, but unfortunately it did not pass after earning only 56.12% of approval. As we approach the upcoming November 2026 general election, AVA staff has once again, I've obtained the resolutions from each incorporated city supporting the reestablishment of the AVA fee and for placing it on the ballot. The thing that I want to make sure that everybody knows that we want to promote this time, if you guys allow us to put it back on the ballot, is that every fee that we collect, which is $1 for normal vehicles, and I believe we're saying $3 for commercial vehicles, this funding goes strictly to abating inoperable and abandoned vehicles in private and public areas of the county and also in these cities. And if the funding is not used within the year that's what's collected, then we are at state of losing the program. So this funding is directly for that only, and so we're hoping that you guys will approve on putting it back on the ballot for this November for the public to reinstate.
I was standing in a group of people, and there was a law enforcement officer, and he said, I'm assuming that all of you vote no on every single tax, which nobody answered, but he said, I think you messed up on this one in 2022. He said, this one was $1, and the county's gonna end up paying for that one, so, because we don't have the money to abate vehicles anymore.
Correct. And so far, we've done 4,902 vehicles that we've abated from the county. So it is a wonderful program, and yes, it's going to be a hindrance as we keep going if we don't get funding back for it.
What was the time frame of those 4,000 vehicles?
That is since 2012, since it started. I average anywhere between, when we did have funding, anywhere between 75 and 225 per year.
Where are the vehicles coming from? Are they just dying and left, or they're being parted out, or what?
So it would be a combination of complaints, as well as people that have dumped them on the county roads. Because CHP would contact me if they're on the roadway. And then the complaints are usually for the ones that are on the private property.
Are they stolen, or are they just?
I've actually only had one stolen vehicle out of the 10 years I've done it here.
And RVs too, I guess? Or?
Yes, this includes motor homes, not trailers, but we do, with the funding, if we have addition, I do help out with that as well. So it does help out with trailers if necessary, but it is not part of the.
Okay. You basically tow them, impound them, and then auction them, or what do you do with the?
No, so for that, we actually have to scrap them. They do have to go to a dismantler.
Okay.
So there are instances where a landowner has no right to remove the vehicle themselves because they don't own it, and the only resource they have is to call the county, correct?
Correct, yes. They can go to the DMV and go through the lien process, which can take some time. This would be the easier way because I'm not required paperwork because I go through the whole background check. I am required to send a registered notice to the registered owner to tell them they need to come get their vehicle, and then if they don't, then we would abate it.
So if somebody had a little rental and the renters moved out and left 3 broken down vehicles, they're legally stuck until they go through this whole process unless this exists, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah, their only option will be now to go through a lien if we don't have this program anymore.
You know, I have a question about as far as, I guess, how the measure should be written. And it talks about abandoned and wrecked vehicles. Does it have to be both? It's almost confusing. I'm like, it has to be abandoned and wrecked?
Inoperable.
Yeah, just the way it's written, you know, should the Amador County Vehicle Abatement Program disposal of abandoned and wrecked vehicles? I think it should be, you know, it could be either one of them, abandoned.
Yes, correct. Yeah, it could be an abandoned vehicle or an inoperable vehicle.
The way it's written, I think it'd be both. It have to be abandoned and wrecked, which I don't think that's what we want to do. It's abandoned and wrecked, but either one.
Yeah, it comes down to the value of the car too. I mean, if I have a BMW, nice BMW, I can't take that. So
Yeah, and
there's the value of the car and then the condition of what it's left. And then obviously being abandoned, obviously those are ones that are calling and complaining about it's left, or same thing, it's left on the side of the road. So we're informing the registered owner they need to come and get it, otherwise it would be removed.
What's the time frame on that?
So the letter itself says 10 days, but I do a 16 days to allow the letter to get there and then some time after.
That's still the same for if it's just got filed a non-op?
No, this does not. So for private property,
Yeah.
what I explained to you, so in the ordinance that you have for 1032, there's nothing in there that says that about registration, but it does have to be an operable vehicle if it's in view of neighbor or public, which means it has to have inflated tires, no broken glass, electrical works, and it has to go on its own power 10 feet forward and 10 feet back.
Would it be better to rather have an and put an or in there, abandoned or wrecked vehicles?
Yeah.
So for the resolution language that I think you're looking at, that's when the board makes a decision on whether or not to move forward with the measure, you can select between 2 paragraphs.
Yes.
So if you're leaning towards the first one, I see the language that you're pointing at. I don't necessarily think it needs to be or to be clear, because it's almost listing the different options that are available, and it's just a list of 2 at this point. So I can see how reading and makes it seem, but it's not like shall or must or may language where it would mean one thing or another. It's not permissive or absolute. It's just listing that those are the 2 options that could be abated.
So if there were 3, there'd be a comma between the first
It'd be
2 and then
comma,
the
yeah,
and.
Okay. Are historical vehicles going to be exempt?
Yes, there's requirements in the AV ordinance per what it needs to be, yes, to be exempt.
And that includes all white Dodge pickups.
Thanks a lot.
The gray one's the older one.
Wow.
Make fun of my pickup.
No.
Still running too.
Under
Its
its own
maintenance,
power.
and its maintenance costs are cheap.
But does it run 10 feet? That's the next one.
And then you have like the argument in favor also. You know, I had one thought on that. Maybe I'd like to see it pass. I think it'd be a good thing. It talks about the vote yes on measure, whatever it's going to be. The second paragraph, it says through a modest annual fee of $1 per vehicle. If I was a voter, I'd look at the modest and I'd think, that's a little bit much. Why don't you how about just through an annual fee of $1? When you say modest, it's almost a push. And as a voter, I'd almost rebel to that.
Doesn't feel modest to me.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to silver coat this thing and tax me more. When you said, hey, a fee, I'd go, well, okay.
Are we required to charge commercial vehicles more?
That's what the the state,
That's the state.
that's the state saying we can change the fee if we want, but I'm probably guessing why it says modest, because we haven't even upped the fee since 2012. It's always been that. So I'm assuming that's probably why the word was used, just to say that, hey, it's just $1.
Yeah.
So,
Can we make it the same
even though the
across
cost
board?
increased?
Let's make it $2 and call it good.
No. I just,
$1 across the board?
there's something about 30 years of going, oh, it costs this, oh, but you're trying to be self-employed. We're going to charge you twice, 3 times as
Dollar,
much.
I think we'd be.
I'm not
real trouble.
quite sure why the state said $2 or $3 for commercials.
Because they like watching businesses leave the state.
Yeah, but
Make a
your
dollar
pickup
across the
truck and
board
my
would
pickup truck are commercial.
All right.
I'd be okay with $1 per vehicle.
Just $1.
Bunch of business.
Any public comment on this issue?
That's just in-county vehicles, I guess. They're registered to our county.
No, even
No.
if they're outside, which is why a lot of the dumped ones do come from like West Point and stuff like that. So no, that doesn't, yeah.
Okay.
Any Zoomers?
No, not at this time.
All right. Well, I think we all know this needs to be done, but
I did have a quick question, because I noticed for last round, 2 of the cities, one had a 2/3 vote and one had a majority. Do we have that option at all, or does it have to be 2/3, or can we do it as a majority? Because obviously it would have won if we had it as a majority this last round.
It's a tax for a specific purpose. That should be a 2/3 vote.
Otherwise, the money can be used for other things.
Yeah, it's in the resolution that they would be adopting, that it needs to be by a 2/3 vote.
Okay, I thought I'd just ask, because I saw two different cities with the sales tax do it 2 different ways, and so I was just checking, so.
all right.
You looking for a motion?
Yes. I'm
Can we
looking-
strike modest? If somebody makes a motion?
Hey, yeah. you just-
So I'd make a motion that we adopt a resolution calling for an election regarding AVA fee with the amendments of removing the word modest and making it a $1 fee for any vehicle across the board despite its classifications.
Second that.
All right, one other question. How much does this collect at $1 a year? Is there kind of an average, do we know?
Yeah, so our average is 55,000, and that usually does not cover the cost.
Oh.
So if you drop the $2, you're gonna be putting it way below, because motorhomes are not cheap to get rid of, which is a lot of them here in the county.
Is that part of why there's an increased assessment on the certain commercial vehicles?
Yes,
Increased
yes, because you have motorhomes included in that, yeah.
Also, for the board's consideration, when you make your motion to adopt the resolution, it's 2 actions, the approval of the language and then also the argument in favor. But for the approval of the language in the resolution, there's 2 options laid out for you, so we'll need consensus on which one is being adopted.
And how much is the election going to cost us?
That I don't know.
I like the second one better, actually.
Elections is back of the room.
Shawnee just gave me some numbers, so it varies. And when you ask her,
Just a ballpark.
it varies.
20,000, 40,000?
Anywhere between 9 and 18.
Oh, okay. That's all right.
Does this one work? So elections are on a weighted factor. So I gave Chuck November of 22 and November of 24. So in 22, when it was last up, we did pay a less of a weighted factor for the election, but the state also had 53 items on the ballot, so that took a lot of cost. Where in November of 24, there was less, so we did pay more of a weighted cost. So right now, I do feel like in this election, because of the top 2 primary and all of the races are at least going to have 2 candidates for the state, and we have been notified of the 14 propositions. I do know that the state's weighted factor will be heavy like 22, so I do believe it will be less of on the lower side, but it is not a hard number that we can give at this time.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay. Just a ballpark figure out.
I guess we didn't talk about it much, but I kind of thought that this, to me, the second option seemed
The motion
better.
maker is studying it for a second.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the $3 fee on any of them.
It does say certain commercial vehicles. What certain commercial vehicles are those?
The state determines that, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Since they collect the fee, I don't know who. I know when I look at mine and I have a truck, commercial, I'm paying $1.
Okay.
So,
Or a pickup.
for the fee for it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
We
you
maybe
probably would.
modify that motion, whichever option we choose, to maybe say, if legally possible, make it $1 for all vehicles. But, and then if the other state says, hey, you have to charge a $3, then we would.
And we don't have any idea how much
Muddy
one or
the
three
water.
would, yeah. I don't think we'd have any idea how much $1 or $3
I don't think,
would
there's not
impact
that
us.
many commercial vehicles, I wouldn't think.
I don't know.
I don't know if I deeply care about $2. I just,
Yeah.
it was just principle, but,
So you amend your motion.
so I have to I have to make two motions. My first motion
We have to vote
will be
on it
worded
separately, right?
similarly to what county council's about to say.
Could do it all as one motion. It would probably be easier to do it as two, since you're deciding on the language separately. And then since you want to make modifications to the argument in favor, by directing staff to remove the. that-
So hypothetically, if you were me, how would you word that first motion?
I would direct you to the staff packet that was prepared. So item 1, I would develop consensus, I guess, if you, the last paragraph of the staff memo also helps spell it out a little bit, that you can adopt the resolution, selecting the language for the ballot measure, and then also, as another motion, adopt the argument in favor or any modification that you'd like. And alternatively, you can take no action.
I have two motions. So moved.
I have a,
I won't quite do it.
wow.
Did they select the language that they want? I don't think the record's clear on which resolution language. Is it the second one that you guys want to go with? The bottom paragraph on the second page of
Yeah.
the resolution?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm looking at the city resolutions. They all, two of the three that I've read, they all say $1 per vehicle. They don't have the,
I was noticing that as well.
they all have $1. They don't have the $3 for commercial on there. I'm not sure if that,
So we'll keep it, so basically approve that resolution with the second option and then $1 per vehicle.
yeah.
Take out the commercial. That'd probably be the first motion, basically.
To be consistent with the city resolutions, is what they all say, $1 per vehicle. They don't say 3 on commercial at all.
Again, I'm not sure because that's exactly how the resolution was done in 2012 in the state. That just might be something the state does, that it's a fee. So maybe we are collecting one and they get I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Because I think Logan had a good point there, because I could see the commercial guy saying, we're getting charged more and voting no.
Yep.
Every one of them.
There's concern that it's pickups, which would be a large percentage of the county.
Oh, is that your first motion?
Yes.
We have a second?
Still there.
Yeah, you agree with it? Okay. We had a motion by Supervisor Cornell and a second by Supervisor Onetto to, after discussion, for an amended motion. Bring it to the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Then we need a motion to adopt the argument for.
So I move that we,
And any amendments to it.
so the motion would be that we approve of, or that we are in favor of this letter.
Argument, the argument in favor of measure or whatever.
But you want to move modest, remove
Yeah,
modest,
correct.
right? But that's up to you
Right.
guys.
Yes, so moved.
I'll second that.
Argument in favor, removing modest.
All right, again, we had a motion by Supervisor Cornell and a second by Supervisor Onetto. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. 3E is the Annual Amador Resource Conservation District presentation. Presentation only and an update. Good morning.
Thank you for your patience.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me. Amanda Watson. I'm the Executive Director of the Amador Resource Conservation District, and I am here to provide you an update from the last report, which was, I believe, August of 2025, some of our activities of the Amador RCD, as well as some of our future plans. As you guys know, I've been here a couple times now. The Amador RCD is a local special district. The Amador County Board of Supervisors provides office space, which we're greatly appreciative, in the GSA building that we share with our Ag Commissioner and GSA and University Cooperative Extension. We have a 5-member appointed board, appointed by the Board of Supervisors, that are all landowners and actively engaged in our community. And because we were actually formed back in the 1950s, and we work to provide technical assistance as well as pathways to financial assistance for landowners to do a variety of best management practices and be stewards of their working lands. Our areas of focus for the Resource Conservation District are fire resiliency, working land support, forest health, and local and regional RCD collaboration. So our strategies are really to find the nexus between education as well as action and community support and partnership. So through that, we really try to listen to our producers in Amador County, as well as our forested landowners and our residential community, to hear what their needs are and actively support those needs by developing programs, as well as bringing in financial support to support those programs and directly support implementation of practices on the ground. Fire resiliency, we work really closely with many of our partners in Amador County to build off of our fire resiliency program. So we work really closely with the Amador Fire Safe Council, AFPD, the Prescribed Burn Association, University Cooperative Extension. I'll probably mention a million partners in this program or in this update, because that is really the Resource Conservation District's goal, is to not only build up our organization, but build up all of the levels of support that are available in the county to bring in the abundance of support to make Amador County a viable place to produce food and to live. So with fire resiliency, our programs are the chipping program, defensible space program, and then a variety of other partner efforts and support. The chipping program, Michelle earlier mentioned that we were able to provide a partial support of one of the most recent green waste events, which we're really excited about. We were able to go back to CAL FIRE and get additional support for that to cover that overage. We also have additional funding to continue to help support green waste events as well as bins throughout the county. And in fall, we'll be launching the second round of our chipping program. So that's our residential chipping program, which will focus on the balance between landowners doing fuels reduction work on their properties, being able to stack and pile that in their neighborhoods, and then a chipper coming and chipping that debris. In some cases, removing the debris, but in most cases, chipping and spreading that on site. So this is a really popular program. We've been able to get funding for another round of that, which we're really excited and grateful for CAL FIRE. And so we're hoping to continue to provide that chipping for at least the next 2 years with that funding. And to date, we've been able to assist 2,393 residents and treat an estimated 1,300 acres, and that's self-reported by those landowners of what they've been able to treat. Our Defensible Space program, we're really excited to announce that applications went out in May, opened up in May, and within the first 3 days, we exceeded the 75 applications that we originally thought we were going to be able to assist, and those focused entirely on what we call our vulnerable community, and in the grant that's defined as people that would likely not be able to do this work themselves, so either they're low income, disabled, or veterans, or senior populations. And so we've partnered with AFPD as well as the other fire protection districts to be able to provide assessments to people's homes, as well as a contractor to go out and actually perform that defensible space work. So that's the space 100 feet around the homes. And one thing that we are learning and we know now is that it is critical. Defensible space around your home is fantastic, but if the community is not doing that, then we're not getting the adequate fire protection. So really this is helping potentially have these people that would not be able to do this work get and keep their fire insurance, which is a huge component of this, but it's also protecting the community as a whole, as you have many community members that are concerned that their neighbors do not have their defensible space, and it collectively improves fire resiliency through the community the more defensible space we have around homes. And so we actually have a new goal of 125 residents to assist because we were able to effectively spend those funds. And so we're really excited that we were able to increase that deliverable, and we now have 125 residents, and we put in a grant to be able to do this project again next year. So I'll keep you updated if we receive that funding. We've also last October did a planting with the University Cooperative Extension at the Pine Grove Veterans Hall. Before that, we did a clearing to make it defensible and as a showpiece of what defensible space looks like. And then University Cooperative Extension came out and provided some feedback and plantings that to show that just because it's defensible doesn't mean there can't be habitat for pollinators and animals, and it can't be beautified in a way. So we tried to split the difference there and make it a nice place to actually show off multiple different aspects of defensible space and fire-wise landscaping. A project that I'm really excited to discuss with the board is our scaling prescribed grazing and prescribed fire here in Amador County. The goal of this program is really to put as many tools back in the toolboxes of our landowners and our program developers here in Amador County. At this point, we do mostly mastication and handwork. We've done some grazing as the Resource Conservation District, but as we know, the landscape and the vegetation on the landscape grows back, and some of the maintenance tools that we're hoping to put back in the hands of landowners and our programs is utilizing grazing and prescribed fire, and to do that in a way that makes sense on the land and is safe and compatible with the rest of the activities that we need to have happen here in Amador County. So this funding is a pilot program to provide a half-time prescribed burn coordinator through the Amador and El Dorado Prescribed Burn Association that's focused primarily here in Amador County, as well as do education programs on prescribed grazing and prescribed burning to teach people how to do that efficiently and to go on their land and decide what actually makes sense on the ground. Just because going out there and putting goats just because you like goats isn't going to get the result, right? So there's training and education that goes along that. And then also training our staff and other organizations and entities in the county staff about how to use prescribed grazing and prescribed fire. So that's built in there too, to really build the capacity of the entities doing this work so that we can more comfortably and more safely utilize these tools.
I just want to comment. I know I was been watching the grazing project there at Sarasota Creek, and I was on that little tour. It was actually pretty cool. You can kind of see the difference it's made just over the course of several months, and they graze according to weed schedules and all kinds of crazy stuff, but it's actually pretty impressive when it comes right down to it.
Yeah, and I think that the term there, prescribed, is actually really critical that we might not think about, like why use that term, but it is really a prescription for the land, of looking at the land and saying, what do I want to get? What are the improvements I need to to be made, and how do I get there? So there's a plan that comes along with that. And so helping landowners develop those plans and getting the expertise in the county to be able to do that is what this program's about. And luckily we have Dan Macon, who is, kind of revered in prescribed grazing and targeted grazing here in California. Works in our University Cooperative Extension office, and he's going to be helping with this program as well, if we get it funded. We put in a grant for this just a couple days ago.
I guess there's a problem with goats right now as far as the herders being paid properly. That's going through the state senate, that they're not going to be able to afford to have herders because it costs so much.
Yeah,
they're mandating the
24-hour shifts.
Yeah.
Yes, several.
200,000.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I can't remember the assembly, I believe it was an assembly bill a couple of years ago, and yeah, that has been an issue, is that being able to pay them adequate, like what is along with all prevailing wage requirements, because it's a 24-hour schedule, because they have to be out there with the sheep.
Become a goat herder.
Yeah, that is,
No kidding.
Wild. No.
it is, the numbers are astronomical.
Yeah.
And so I know Dan's been involved in those conversations as well, because as we, across the state of California, the leadership has actually been really supportive of using grazing as a tool, but making sure that we can actually utilize the tool in a way that makes sense and is obviously fair for labor also makes sense, and balancing that, because it's going to drive, it will be impossible for people to pay, in my opinion. I think it'll be very unlikely people will pay those additional costs.
Right.
Then add the mountain lions in and.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so along with this, we do hope to provide not only workshops, but training about predation as well. That's something that is brought up in many of our, many of the conversations we have is increased predation or just the concern of predation with goats. So that is something that we will build into this as well.
Actually, a while back, I was over in Calaveras, and they might have overprescribed it a little bit, but it was whatever they'd done, you couldn't have got a fire started on that ground if you tried. They ate everything.
Yeah.
Which you figure, it was a small area, a fire break, and if you don't do that, you're gonna have the fire burn everything everywhere. But yeah, it was pretty impressive, and those goats, they just wiped it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that when you have the right goats at the right time, and there's a lot that goes into prescribing grazing. And I will say my staff, we're learning about it, but we don't have the expertise yet, and that's what this program's hopefully going to provide us to do, to be able to learn that and also bring in that expertise when needed to get the results that we want. And so we also have another prong of our support, and I would say a lot of these work together. Working land support is probably our overarching really goal and program, but when I'm mentioning working lands, I'm mostly specifically talking about range, croplands. We do put forestry into this, but not necessarily in the fire resiliency aspect. We're talking about managing your landscape for your landowner goals. And we have a lot of working lands here in Amador County. And so these are landowners on their grounds with specific goals and intents for their property, and we want to help them manage their ground to be able to do that in the long term. And so to do that, we provide technical assistance that either is just technical assistance or an avenue towards financial assistance. We also are working to provide education, and one of the things that we're really excited about leading here in our region is a peer-to-peer network of education opportunities, and I'll get a little bit into that. We also work on habitat development for wildlife as well as pollinators. And we've been working with regional and landscape scale coordination with RCDs and other partners across the Central Sierra. So our technical assistance, we've been part of the Healthy Soils program for about 5 years now. The RCD kind of led the local region with getting small technical assistance grants so that landowners could apply to the state for what's called healthy soil funding. And this would allow them to do rangeland seeding, compost application, riparian treatments, hedgerows, wind breaks, a lot of practices that you'd see like the Natural Resource Conservation Service offer, but from the state instead of the federal government. So we've been able to provide assistance through that. The state's changing how they're approaching this program with block grants. So in the last round, we partnered with Placer Resource Conservation District as the lead, and they were awarded $4 million to provide technical assistance throughout the entire program. So producers always had a line to call their local RCD and their technical assistance provider, and then also award directly to landowners to provide healthy soil practices. We were really excited. We were overprescribed in that program in the Central Sierra literally in a matter of minutes. This area is typically historically underserved with the statewide agricultural projects, so we're working on trying to change that. In the next round, I unfortunately don't have a letter of support for you guys to present to you guys today, but hopefully in the next month, we put in concept proposals from both Slough House RCD, Placer RCD, and Amador RCD, all for different aspects of healthy soils and water efficiency, and all of those concept proposals were accepted, which is an extreme feat. I think, there was only, less than 25% of the concept proposals accepted, and that our region was represented by 3 is fantastic. And so we're working diligently over the next month to put all 3 of those applications in. Slough houses will cover water efficiency through the state water efficiency and effectiveness program, and that will provide $4 million for technical assistance as well as direct implementation funding for producers to do irrigation, pump efficiency, which we have not had very much of that state funding brought into the county. So that will level us up by $4 million. And the region goes from Nevada County down to Mariposa. And then Placer RCD put in for a concept proposal for $4 million to address specifically healthy soils programs for cropland for that same region. And Amador RCD is leading the effort for range and livestock. So that was our strategic way of bringing in the most amount of money for our 10 county region and really being effective with our technical assistance. So instead of it being 2 counties getting all that money, it's going to be spread across 10 counties, and we're all sharing the load of administration and technical assistance. And this is a huge part of that regional planning that Amador RCD has been working with our RCDs because we are a smaller county, lumping in and really having a coordinated effort across our Central Sierra really helps us be more effective in bringing resources to our county. So that's the strategy that we've been engaged in. And I'll quickly mention this. We have had several what we call our peer-to-peer work day or field days. We've had them for ranching and forestry, and the goal behind these is bringing landowners together, producers together, and doing really intensive conversations about looking at the land, taking time to take stock of what are your goals, what are you seeing on the ground, and the big thing is identifying areas where producers will be comfortable trying new practices, identifying safe to fail procedures so that we can think about. A lot of the state says, well, we should be doing healthy soil practices because it's good for the environment. At the Amador RCD, we really feel that it doesn't make sense for a producer to do a healthy soil practice out of the goodness of their heart. It needs to make sense for their ground, and it needs to make sense for their operation. And so really setting up so this is a sustainable change that producers can implement and actually makes a meaningful difference on their land is really important to the RCD. And so that's really what these peer-to-peer networks are bringing people and building that community and focusing around looking at the land and saying what are things that we could be adapting to and implementing. So these peer-to-peer networks have been a really exciting opportunity, and we've had generations of producers out on the land together, and it's been really special to see having those conversations continue across generations so that we can keep agriculture and agricultural viability as a really critical point of Amador County and the Central Sierra region. To that note, we have a regional resource guide that Tuolumne County RCD has been the lead on, but we've been putting in resources. It is technically live, but at the end of August, we'll have all of the Amador County related resources. So this will be a place that landowners can go and click boxes of what type of land use they're looking at, and a lot of resources will pop up. And so if there's any resources from the public, from the board, that you'd like to be included, you can let the RCD know, and we can add that to there. So we're really excited about this as a center point that we can really send to people, and also when we're out there in the field with them, we can start clicking these boxes, and then we'll have a big long list of resources that are available to share with them. We have our wildlife structures program that's been going for the last couple years. We've awarded 89 structures across Amador, Calaveras, and Tuolumne counties. We're putting some more out in this year, and then that project will be wrapping up. So you can go to our website and see a couple of those boxes being utilized. We have some wildlife cameras out there, and it's been a really great project to focus around mostly working lands and providing wildlife structures for raptors, bluebirds, bats to those properties to encourage wildlife to return to the property or nest on the property.
You do like wood duck boxes too then? Or?
We do have wood duck boxes as part, and I think we haven't installed a ton of those, but there is that is an option.
Don't tell them where they're at.
No. No, I've installed probably 30 on the Jackson Valley system there. If you ever need locations, I've got a list of contacts. And
awesome.
I typically, if my life's not insanely busy, which has not been the case lately, I usually go in March and maintain them. And,
awesome.
And, yeah, it's been going on for 20 years, but yeah.
That's great.
I'll contact you.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. And also with this next piece, we are hosting our Gold Country Wildlife Fair in September at Kennedy Mine. So this is going to be in cooperation with the Farms of Amador tour. It's the same weekend. So we're hoping it to be a really county focused weekend where people can come to this festival and then actually go out on some of the farms that have these wildlife structures on them to see them maybe see them in action, but at least kind of get the connection there between ag and working lands and the important part that those landscapes play in wildlife habitat. So if there's any information that you'd like to share about your program, we would definitely highlight that. We're also going to do a photo contest, so look out for that if any amateur photographers would like to put anything in. And then also we're going to have food and music, and so it's really meant to be a celebration of wildlife and pollinators in our county. Forest health, I will move to the Jackson Creek project. We recently put in a forest health grant to continue the Jackson Creek project. We were able to treat over 1,300 acres in the past, so we're looking for additional funding to continue to do forest health treatments in the Jackson Creek watershed. We have CEQA coverage for 3,000 acres, so we're hoping to do maintenance work on some of that already treated work, a lot of grazing, some prescribed fire, and some mastication of additional ground here in the Jackson Creek watershed. So we just put in that grant application, and I know that map is quite crazy and small, but I can go over that in detail at some other point. But you can see the different polygons on there, and the different colors show the different treatment types. So there is a lot of overlapping and strategic placement of treatments. And then all of those green triangles are structures.
You know, one thing I will say, Amanda, I see where that's not necessarily so much RCD, but even like private homeowners, people go in and they thin their property to make it fire safe, and they never cut enough trees. And the thing is, you know, by leaving those residual trees, that makes that job more expensive because you got to try to work around and protect them. And it's like, they ought to be gone, a lot of them, and a little more open. And, you know, people think, well, I'm fire safe because I haven't masticated that ground or whatever. Well, they're leaving back these little cedar trees this big, which really should be gone.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you can get the message out to people. Just cut a few more, masticate a few more. Because what I've noticed, I see people, what they think is right, they should probably cut at least 50%, if not double that, and they're probably close to where they ought to be for fire.
Yeah, putting on my Fire Safe Council hat, I will say, you know, a lot of our projects are dealing on private property, and so there's only really so much that we can and want to do when imposing what we think should happen on private property. And a lot of that even comes with like ingress and egress. We see that a lot. Even more, you know, I would say even kind of a more extreme example where people want to keep a screen share, like, and so we're not accomplishing the project through leaving those things. And so I will say when it's a Fire Safe Council project or an RCD project, we really do try to work with the landowner to follow our very specific prescriptions so that at least the end result is a fuel break, right? Or whatever the goal is of the project. Forest health, I would say, is it's more landscape scale, so we're not looking for like a 300-foot fuel break. So it's a different prescription. But I will say, to the understanding piece for landowners, we do have some funding coming up to work with AFPD through their Firewise Forum and provide training to landowners, and specifically provide training to the leads of Firewise communities. And one of our goals in that is having a forester be available to help provide them assistance of like, what does a good project look like, and providing that expertise. Whether the landowners utilize that, I'm not sure, but we do. It was similar to like with the Mitchell Mine, the herbicide, and not only herbicide, but we used grazing. They did flaming, different management techniques, coming up with a paper and saying these are all the options. We've tested their efficiency, and so providing tools like that is really the goal of the RCD. Whether the landowners actually implement it, it's kind of, you know, it's up to their private property to, you know, decide their best management practices. As far as regional and local planning, I do want to mention that the RCD is updating our strategic plan this year. So any insight or input about the direction you'd like to see the RCD go, please let me know. I am also hoping to conduct interviews with as many of you as possible, and other interested people across the county to get input about the direction of not only the local RCD, but our regional RCD planning process. We're working with up to Nevada, down to Mariposa, to come up with a regional RCD strategic plan to help us, you know, better align our goals and to really be as effective as possible. So, I personally really want that to be based in on the ground information. And so with that, we do have a community hub page on our website where there's multiple surveys available that I'd like to let you guys know about, as well as the public, and we'll be taking input there to incorporate into our planning process. And then I'm always available, and I'm also going to be, like I said, doing interviews in the next 2 months. So if anybody's interested, please reach out. And I'll be contacting all of you guys if you're interested, and really just getting your insight about what you see about ag viability, natural and working lands here in Amador County, and what the RCD can do to support your vision. And this goes into that this is our resiliency strategy that the RCDs across the region are working on. That's my update. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Did you ever figure out how many acres you've done in the last 8 years?
Nope.
Okay. You get that to me eventually. I know you will.
I will, and I'm sorry. I should have, and also I did do the math on for our CEQA for the per acre question, and we actually are looking at about $3,500 per acre, including CEQA, with the current CEQA requirements.
Right.
So that includes doing our forestry, our project management, as well as treatment, and that varies if it's really rocky or the variation is mostly within the treatment per the actual mastication work and that treatment.
Do we know when Mount Crossman will be taken care of?
We are still waiting on rights of entry on Mount
Rights of entry.
Crossman. So we are about halfway through the rights of entry process. Sierra Nevada Conservancy requires a 25-year rights of entry, which, for some landowners, that's a challenge. So we're working to make sure that everything's really clear to
I
protect
signed
the
it.
private.
I'll be dead by that time.
But no, we have funding for that project, so we're just waiting on rights of entry to enter into the contract with Sierra Nevada Conservancy. We're still hoping that that's going to slated for a fall implementation.
I was wondering, you probably have, but if you haven't, I'd appreciate it. Have you talked with our director, Glenn Spitzer, about the legal research he's done to increase the likelihood of local contractors being awarded these contracts for things such as chipping and these projects?
I have not, but I will say that the Amador RCD does not always take the lowest bid for our projects. We have provisions in our procurement policy that allows us to take into account best value, and same with the Fire Safe Council, and especially the Fire Safe Council because they're not a special district. And so I would say for the Fire Safe Council, it is an incredible imperative of ours to offer these to local contractors, and building workforce development has been a really strong ethic behind the Fire Safe Council. And then with the RCD, we work within the bounds that we can. So I will definitely reach out to Glenn to see if there's any more that we can do in that regard.
Thanks.
Amanda, just a housekeeping note.
Yeah.
This is a tribute to former Supervisor Forster, who was a stickler in your fire resiliency.
Oh, no.
One of the blocks defensible is it listed as defeasible.
Yeah, I noticed
Did you
that
see-
just as I looked over, and I was like, oh,
I want to fix that.
yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. I will double and triple check my spelling next time. If you looked closer, there'd probably be a couple more, if I'm honest, so.
That's the only one I saw.
Okay, good.
All right, any public comment on this report? A lot of information. Oh, here we go.
Very thorough.
Yeah, sorry, I worked to shorten it down. Next time I'll just,
Work on
I'll
the
try to
Reader's
shorten it
Digest.
next time even more.
Reader's Digest version. All right, we have a public commenter, Mike.
Good afternoon again, Jamie Lebanco. I try really hard not to comment on each item. I think I did remarkably well today. First, this organization does such incredible work. It's stunning sometimes to sit and listen to how much they've accomplished. So props to the folks involved, especially Miss Amanda. I'm curious if the RCD can concentrate some efforts on things that are happening in the Shenandoah Valley. When I hear a conversation around soil health and healthy soils and a lot of those things, in my mind I'm thinking about, I would think, more than 300 acres of grapes that are currently being removed. And with them, their cover crops and certainly impacts on wildlife. I mean, there's just a lot of things that are happening there. And I don't know if there are resources that could also help them with planting of the crops that will be planted to replace them. I do know there is some funding out there for replacing certain crops with different crops that have less requirements for water use. Most of that funding seems to be directed to the valley where they're trying to get rid of things like almonds perhaps. But perhaps Amador County's Resource Conservation District could work with our grape growers and be an asset to that industry as they're kind of transitioning right now as well. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Any Zoomers?
Not at this time.
All right, that was a presentation only. Again, a lot of information. They do a lot of good work and something we should all be proud of. Moving along to 3F is appointment of Candace Thomas as the tax collector / treasurer for Amador County. The ladies are here.
Yeah, that's actually my item. But they're here if you should have any questions.
Okay.
Liz Nelson has given us a
Pretty cut and dried, yeah.
Yeah, effective August 14th. And the item actually is titled Appointment of Candace Thomas. That was presumptuous on our part, although she is the elected tax collector starting in January, so she would be the logical one to appoint.
All right.
It is the board's call, so I'll leave it in your hands, but if you'd like to talk to either one of them, they're here.
We're a government body, so it seemed too logical to make an appointment like that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well,
I'm joking. Yeah. I got no questions.
pretty ministerial, really. Have you all met Candace? Maybe she could come up and say hello. You got to get used to being in front of the microphone here pretty soon. You'll get used to it. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so I'm excited to take on this opportunity. I've been with the county for almost 9 years now. I was our payroll manager for 8 years. In the last year, I transferred over to behavioral health. I'm the deputy of fiscal and administrative services for behavioral health. The past 6 weeks or so, I've been splitting my duties between both departments to shadow Liz and her chief deputy, who's also retiring at the end of the month. So, yeah, big undertaking, but I'm excited for the opportunity.
Great day one, I guess, so.
Congratulations.
Right, yeah, congratulations, welcome.
Thank you all.
We'll see you around the building, I'm sure.
I've been around and I'll be around.
If we pass a resolution.
Yeah, well, yes.
Well,
Yeah, all right.
For now, I'm putting in the time as the, like I said, the chief deputy. So.
Then when we become full-time over here?
August 3rd.
Okay.
August 3rd. We're still going through a transition at behavioral health to backfill my position there. So I will be still assisting that department until that transition's complete. But I will physically be in office here beginning of August.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You did fine. Any public comment on this issue? No Zoomers?
No, not at this time.
All right, we'll bring it back to the board.
Make kind of a motion to appoint Candace Thompson as a tax collector treasurer for Amador County.
Second.
I'd prefer to promote Candace Thomas, but
Did I say Owens? My apologies. Candace Thomas.
Tax collector's got to have the details down, right?
All right, we had a motion by Supervisor Oneto, a second by Supervisor Epperson to appoint Candace Thomas as the tax collector treasurer for Amador County. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Liz, enjoy your retirement. All right, 3G, review and possible approval of the June 23rd, 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes. Any corrections, questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Supervisor Brown, a second by Supervisor Carnell to approve the minutes as presented. Do we have any public comment on the minutes? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. With that, this meeting is adjourned until the 28th of July. Thank you all for coming.